Episode 16, Lieutenant Hannah, March 2023, and we're still here from Western North Dakota. The men and women in blue are coming at you straight off the cuff. It is brisk, it is cold, the ground is white, but it's warm in studio today.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, how sick are you of the snow right now?
Yeah, I finally have given up on shoveling the driveway.
Pretty much. Want to invest in that flamethrower, just get it done with.
Yeah, exactly. I said we're going to be we'll be at the end of March here soon and into the spring, and so
light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah, yep. Exactly. Yeah, it's been we skipped a month, had a few things that were going on and inside the department, and decided to push it into March a smidgen there. But I think today is the listeners are going to really enjoy. We're mixing it up a little bit and trying to make up maybe for a lost month, bringing two in-house today for a few different reasons, and two that were strategically picked for our listeners and our viewers today. Local guys, hometown guys that I think the viewers are going to thoroughly enjoy kind of hearing their story.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it myself.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So a few things for you guys out there that are paying attention to the podcast and listening since the last time we were here. Big stuff, really. We were assigned in recommendations and approval for a new chief here for the Dickinson Police Department, Chief Joe Ciani, taking the helm here in the middle of February. Officially, I think, was the commission meeting that took hold on that, February 21st. And we're off to the races now with the next evolution of the Dickinson Police Department.
Yep. It's obviously Joe's been with us for quite a long time. He's officially the OG of the department now, and there are plenty of good candidates that were in line for that. There really couldn't have gone wrong there, and I know that going forward, there's a lot of good ideas floating here, a lot of exciting times, and change is always a little bittersweet. Change is kind of in our profession can go either two ways, but I think for the most part we have a really good vision going forward. We got a lot of good guys in the bullpen warming up here, so the future of Dickinson PD is looking bright. Yeah,
two things. Yeah, as you know, out there, law enforcement doesn't like change and no change, right? So it's like you caught in between there, and we're in a spot where I think excited. There'll be some new things we're going to be able to talk about here in the upcoming months and share out to you guys on how things are working. I know we're going to be working some community surveys. You're probably going to have a big hand in that, Mike, with your PIO end of it, getting some stuff out there, which, kind of gives you, it's imperative for you guys to give feedback. I mean, essentially, we are you, you are us, and we're operating and working off the parameters that you set for us.
Yeah, we have kind of an idea how we want to do our day-to-day jobs, but it's ultimately up to the community how they want to be policed. What's important to them, where they want the priorities at. So we obviously have to have a big idea where they want us to go. So that's a big piece of the puzzle right there. Yeah, for sure. So it's exciting and fresh and new, and so I'm looking forward to all those conversations coming up down the road. Some other big things coming up this weekend is depending on when Mike has some time in between his busy schedule to release this, but we got Skate with the Cop coming up here. I'll put up a note. Probably by the time this airs, I'm sure everybody is probably already off the ice and whatnot, but we're looking forward to that again. That's always a huge turnout. Every year it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Senior Officer Chad Hoppin and Senior Officer Bailey Tullius, they've been instrumental in really taking this project, this event by the horns, and every year trying to make it a little bit better, and like I said, the crowd keeps growing every year. It's a really good time. There's always a couple laughs to be had. Cops in uniform biffing it on the ice, but
I'm one of them.
Hey, at least you tried. I was pretty impressed though. A guy your size on the ice is definitely foreboding, and you made it work.
I need the walker. You got to give me a chair or something, man. And it's but yeah, we got so that'll probably have between 300-400 kids in attendance.
So.
With time that's said and done, we got Daddy-Daughter Dance that's going to be coming up here near the end of April, 27th, 28th, 29th. We're operating going to 3 nights this year, versus 2, because of the prior desire and just the from the community wanting to get into that. We were sold, always have been sold out, on both nights. That's going to be out at the August House. Pay attention to Mikey on our Facebook page, social media pages for getting your tickets, and I think they're open actually.
Yep. I believe the Eventbrite site has been live for a week or so now. So get those tickets if they haven't been sold out yet. I've been hearing rumors that it's getting pretty close to being sold out on a couple of the nights there. So
go click on it. Go click and buy it. The other one we got the week before that is going to be going from the end and backing up the Heroes Ball. That's going to be on August 15th, and that's going to be out at the August House the same. And we're anticipating, again, about 300 people at that one. The tickets are up and live on our Facebook page through the event page. You can just go get into there. If you're a first responder listening, you can get a first responder discount for about $25 off each ticket. And we really hope to see you there. And community members, if you want to donate to any of these events, it's really just, you can reach out through our Facebook page, DM, message us, place a call in. And that would be great, well received on our end.
And it's obviously going to a great cause. Usually we split up between the Dickinson Police Association, Fire Association. Then do we have another sponsor that we're doing this year?
Or is it just those two? Yeah, and the auxiliary groups will be involved in there.
That's right.
Shelter and stuff. Yep. So really a gamut of first responder network and family that money goes to help. So much appreciated there. And then we have a real big one this year that's been advertised. It's a law enforcement symposium, going to be first one we've ever put together. It's going to be at the Astoria over a 3-day period with it. We're going to be doing some video releases here in the next couple of weeks promoting that. And essentially it's a gamut of leadership, wellness, and legal updates from top tier trainers around the country right now that we were able to secure through just a wide variety of funding sources, and we're really excited. They're big names, and I think we're anticipating 150 attendees over the 3 days with that. But a lot of good sponsors that have been helping us and support us in there. So if you're a first responder, somebody who's a first responder wants some good training or passing it along, that's also on our Facebook page live right now. It's free for North Dakota first responders, free. And again, normally this stuff would cost you, it would be, $300 to $500 per day on these instructors. So your $1,500 bill for free, let's just say.
If you have that day off, your first responder, and your name's not in the hat, come on, what are you doing here? I mean, this is excellent training. You very seldom come across the caliber of presenters that we got lined up for you. So, Katie Coleman, yes. She's basically a lot with the wellness aspect of first respondership. Kevin Daigle with Daigle Law Office, and then Cody Gandy with Echelon Front. Yeah, so it's a tremendous amount of names for just a couple days symposium here. Yeah, we've gotten a lot of feedback, and you put a lot of work into it, Kyle. And we really appreciate all the work you've done on behalf of the department. And we even got our new city events coordinator, Joe Walters, helping us out with some of the advertising. So we appreciate you, Joel, on that. And it's been kind of really interesting to see how this is kind of growing, even after the first couple of weeks of advertising on it. But again, if you're off that day, you can make it. Post credit for law enforcement. And did medical, are we getting close to getting that certified too?
Yeah, we have fire department taking care of continuing ed stuff for like your EMTs and such. And then I did have a mental health personnel reach out to me the other day, and they were on their own going to try to work on some of the mental health continuing ed stuff. So you can explore that, reach out to us for some confirmation. But we are got our post hours for law enforcement and then continuing ed opportunities there that I think are a lot of people ask right away. Are important. So, yeah. I think other than that, we got some new officers that we just had sworn in. We got just at the last commission meeting, 3 of them, all local ties.
Yep.
Which is just awesome because them. And then today we're going to be talking about officers, local ties. It's just something that we're really proud of, I know, as a department, when we can tote that to our local listeners. And we got 3 more that are about ready to go to the next basic academy, and we have a couple more after that are teed up. So I mean, we're training and hiring, and we're getting after it right now.
Yeah, we're only a couple positions down. We have a couple in background right now. So once we get those filled, we're really close to getting to that shiny object at the end, that being full staff. So hopefully just a little bit more time on that. And like you said, with the homegrownness on it, and we can all speak of this. I consider you homegrown as well here. Everybody in the room kind of homegrown. You have just a little bit more skin in the game per se of wanting to really do the best that you can for your community, because this is where you grew up. This is kind of what you know. This is the people you know. But we've also had really good officers that have risen through the ranks here from out of Dickinson as well. So certainly great talent on either side. But the homegrown guys, I think, represent a lot of the vast majority of Dickinson PD.
Yeah, they do. The we're in the middle of some big training right now for anybody interested and plays around much now. What's really got popular in the last 5 years, I guess you could say, some of the jiu-jitsu ends of it. And so from our department is transitioning into a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu program. We just brought back a couple instructors and incorporating that information into a first quarter training, which is specifically designed for use of force, and then some medical attending to medical needs, first aid, things like that, getting some certifications back up. So I say that because it's important. Like, what are we doing up here? When you don't see the officers, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in between. We're trying to find time when we're not busy responding to calls and in times of need and training and these other stuff, these things we have to get done. And so that's one of them we're trying to get right now. Use of force, first aid, medical treatment, getting that revamped. And
yeah, and especially on the, I don't want to say combatives level, but the self-defense type of strategy. That's been evolving a lot in the law enforcement realm the last couple of years, and specifically Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is kind of the one that's taking the forefront right now. It's not to say that that's the end-all for tactics and stuff. I mean, that should certainly be just another tool in the toolbox. You've had lockup experience, that type of concept. Obviously, techniques off of there that are very beneficial. And then, of course, we have the intermediate weapons, the taser and the pepper spray and stuff like that. The de-escalation portion is big into our training. But for this go-around, having Officer Schrader and Officer Schroeder, both attended the Gracie Instructor Academy here just a couple days ago. And as of today, right now as we speak, they're off rolling in the combatives room, teaching some of the newer techniques of that. And like I said, some of the other agencies out there across the nation, Georgia and Michigan, they actually require some of their officers to achieve the level of like a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in order for them to be a certified law enforcement. I don't think we're quite there with that, but there's definitely some life-saving techniques that we can learn from this Gracie GST program that we're bringing in-house here. So I'm really excited about it. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy myself, and you and I had the chance to roll with the gang the other day. That was pretty fun.
Yeah. I wish I was younger in my career where those guys are to be able to go through and have the opportunity with this. I mean, it's a phenomenal thing to have in their toolbox.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, let's get it over to our prime guest, and let's why the community probably is wanting to listen and watching this whole thing. These two,
this be a record breaker. Here we go.
These two sexy beasts over here, right? But before we turn it over to them to set the tone, I mean, I always try to read a little something out of the gates, set it for us, and get your mind thinking. And today, I thought this was fitting for you two across from Mike and I. And it says, "I stand the watch, I man the walls. I am what stands between you and the wolves." All right? That's why we are here, and you think about that in your own experiences and your mission and meaning for doing what we're doing here now. So we got Officer Jesse Kubik, and we got School Resource Officer, Senior Officer Taylor Peters with us today.
Morning,
Jesse,
fellas.
Taylor.
Morning.
What's going on over there?
It's living the dream. Another day.
Yeah.
About the same thing, just trying to stay warm out there.
Yeah. How have things been going in the school?
Not too bad. It's been we got a new principal this year, so I think there's just been a lot of change in leadership over. Police department, high school. Mr. Brandt's our new principal. He's been doing a fantastic job. Puts forth a very positive presence in the school, so it's been great to have him around. Gotcha.
And we almost didn't get Jesse in-house today on the mic here. You guys had a hot domestic just prior to this, not?
Yep. That's just part of the job, you guys. We schedule these things and calls come out, but everything turned out to be okay. A little over-exaggerated, but you just never know. Going to those calls, thinking of those different scenarios in your mind, tactical approaches, and obviously having a training with you is great for them. But you escalate, your emotions up there, and high anxiety. Now you come back down to do a podcast.
You mentioned on the trainee side of it. So you're doing a little FTOing right now with the new officer.
Yep. Been doing that shortly after I started here. It seems like, and I was doing it at the agency before this. And with training, I think that's one of the most important things that we do here, and I think we do a great job at it. We're preparing these new officers to get on their own and represent our agency, take care of the community, protect the community. And as a trainer, seeing these guys go through different calls, going through the different new trainings that we're bringing in, like you guys just recently mentioned, and seeing them succeed as a trainer that makes you feel good, that you're doing their job, seeing them once they get on their own, being able to handle calls safely, making the right decisions, being able to problem solve. It makes you feel like you're doing your job right, and it's like almost like being a parent.
Yeah,
right. You know,
very much so.
I'm basically their daddy, and taking care of them, make sure they're safe. If they mess up, it's kind of like a little discipline, tell them what they do wrong, and
they got to say sorry, Dad.
Yep. Well, depending on it, sometimes I'll make it. Make sure we're not recording on camera. It's I love training. I love seeing these guys succeed, and every time we get a new batch or someone in the department, I look forward to being able to be chosen to train those guys. So.
I think the most rewarding part about training, because I did a little stint in FTO, is when the trainee ends up excelling in their role.
Yep.
So I had a trainee go on to actually get the Chiefs Award, and that was fantastic. I saw him get his name called at our award ceremony. Proud dad moment.
Tear in the eye.
Yeah.
So you got recruit.
They grow up so fast.
You got recruit officer Alex Franzen right now is who you are. He's a DSU grad and a Montana native, but over here engaged to a local girl, I think, here in the community, and hopefully a guy we see spread some roots and doing well with him.
Yeah. I really enjoyed training Alex. Things seem to come pretty easy to him. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's great with the public. He's great with the guys in the office and the women. And I look forward to seeing what career he makes out of this. I think he's got a lot of potential. He's just got to stay on path and keep things rolling.
What have you seen in your experience, Jesse, from both when you're in prior agency and here now? What makes a good officer? Like you get them in the squad next to you and you start to train them a little bit. How do you know, like right off the gate, this guy's going to be, or gal who's going to be doing awesome?
Yeah, it's a lot is at the demeanor. When you start off, especially if you're fresh, you're a little scared, right? You don't know anything. There's a lot of information coming at you. The way I explain it to trainees is you're a sponge, and you just absorb all that information as much as possible. But going to each call, by looking at them when we go, I'll talk through it. What's coming to your mind? What are you thinking? There's no wrong ideas. There's no perfect ideas. Let's just talk it out, think through it. And then, how we approach to how they communicate with those unseen. And then we talk about afterwards, each call, once you talk to them, you can kind of get a good idea of where their head's at and how they're going to progress from that call to the next. But there's so many different types of calls for service out there. And you can be in, phase 3 for here, what we do, and there could still be, hundreds of different types of calls. You might go to the same call all the time, but it's different every time.
Yep.
But yeah, my last agency, it's, working for a county out there, it's, obviously a bigger jurisdiction, a little different, dealing with cattle and stuff like that.
Where was that at, Jesse?
So that was in, that was Pennington, South Dakota, and Rapid City. So obviously we covered Rapid, we covered New Underwood, Hill City, Keystone, stuff
Box
like
Elder
that.
in there?
Box Elder's in our county, but Box Elder also had their own PD out there.
Gotcha.
So they dealt with some of their own stuff. And then prior to that, originally started my career with the South Dakota Highway Patrol, and then transitioned to Pennington, and now I'm here. So
you're Trinity grad.
Yep.
So how is that, being that local, and we really want to talk about that and highlight your guys' history here for the viewers and the listeners. So Trinity grad, we got TP Taylor over here, Dickinson High grad.
There we go.
Yeah, you got the midget.
Alum.
Yeah, back serving the school he graduated from. But how is that for you, being back here as born and raised, and then, graduating, and the familiarity of all of that, and how's that playing out so far for you in your time back with us?
Yeah, I mean, so far it's been great. Obviously going to Trinity. Before that, growing up, I went to a public school system, but going into the Trinity school system, the Catholic school, myself, I'm Catholic, and it's for me, I really enjoyed it. It was a smaller school, smaller attendance, and it felt more of like a more one-on-one focus for me personally with the teacher, because you had a smaller classroom. Obviously the faith aspect was very important for me and my family, especially for, those that my dad that put me through Trinity. And I have a few brothers that went through Trinity as well. And I enjoyed it. The athletics were good. The teachers are great. The classmates were fantastic. And, knowing people at DHS was great too. And it's Trinity, just the private school aspect. I just personally enjoyed. And now being back here and being able to go there and see how the school's functioning, whether it's walking through during games and stuff like that, it's nice to be back and knowing that now I can possibly help those in the community that go into Trinity, make connections, working here. There's a lot of people at this agency, I'm surprised, that have ties to Trinity, that either went to Trinity themselves, their kids are going to Trinity, and it's, being back, it's, I didn't think originally I would be back in Dickinson working, but I love it. I love who I work with. The community's great. And like you guys mentioned earlier, it's a little different when you're, a local boy coming back. You kind of feel like you have a little bit of an extra step on some folks, and that's a true statement. And you feel more eager to help the community and grow in your career.
Right. Your mom and dad, are they longtime Dickinson residents?
Originally, yep. We grew up here, and my dad is from the Manning area, so north of Dickinson, and that's basically where I grew up. And the size of Manning is pretty much whatever size your family is. It's pretty small, farming and ranching. But parents, mom and dad, like a lot of people, unfortunately, sometimes parents don't stick together, so that's kind of how I was raised. But great family foundation, grandparents, stuff like that. But pretty much with my dad, and if he ever has a chance to listen to this, he's pretty much my hero, best friend, and taught me a lot. So
yeah, that's a good thing. You're definitely proud about that. How did your coming back around here? So you found your way away from Dickinson for a little bit, and then you found your way back home to Dickinson. So how did that come full circle for you? Yeah,
so after graduating from Trinity, I originally was accepted a scholarship to NDSU for football there. Went there for a short period of time and just realized, when it comes to doing something, you got to have a passion for it. That's the big thing. If you're going to succeed, you have the passion for it. I just did not have the passion for it, And that was a hard decision to make to not continue with that career. But at the end of the day, I have zero regrets, and that's the big thing. So then after that, I just need to get out of North Dakota and expand my horizon a little bit. So I moved down to Texas area, Dallas, and I have a brother down there, and worked here and there, and eventually went back to school and got a bachelor's in criminal justice, and which was great. Did an internship with one of the Irving PD down there, kind of a local department, and learned a ton. Originally I thought I was going to go more into the law school aspect and on more like the elder care, because I worked in a nursing home, kind of put myself through college, and then I tell you what, that internship with the PD, those ride-alongs and everything, I knew that this was the career for me.
Get it in your blood and can't get rid of it.
Yep, getting that, that adrenaline rush, and it's like, this is exactly what I wanted to do. So then after I graduated, I came back to, we were thinking we were going to come back to Dickinson, maybe, but I had an opportunity present itself in Rapid for the Highway Patrol. And so I applied, and I got on with them and learned a lot through the training. And then we had some, pressing family matters that we had to make a decision to transfer agencies. And so that led me to the Pennington County Sheriff's Office, and I was with them for a few years, and a little less, maybe like 2, and learned a lot there. Rapid's busy. Rapid's very busy, and I gave a lot of credit to what I learned there, just with the plethora of different calls, a lot of violent crime there, unfortunately, and also I was a coroner there too, and the level of knowledge you learn about the human body, about what it goes through in a traumatic event, and then being able to apply that knowledge on crime scenes, even here. Being able to assess, how, what happened there, being able to look at physical evidence, and then, being able to relay that to your other officers on scene and your trainees. And, it's just crazy how, at Pennington, we're trying to figure out what the next step was for my wife and I. And it seems like out of nowhere, I get a call from Chief Ciani, who was captain at the time. And he heard that, my wife had an opportunity here and wanted me to come down and check out the PD. And I didn't think that we'd be back here, but I checked it out. This facility, I tell you what, it's super nice, this agency, and then getting to meet everyone that works here in the community, and I just connected right away. And I love working here. I love everyone I work with. They not only care about you doing your job, but they care about you as a person. That's a big thing I can say about this agency, is they care about you and your family, and families first. And this agency does not hesitate on pressing that. If you have something coming up, family is priority.
Yeah, it is something here. I think in the last 5 to 10 years, I think it's really come more into focus. And
absolutely,
the first half of our, and with the generation and just the trending and such, it's good to hear, because that is definitely something that's not easy to accomplish. It's
right,
not easy to accomplish, but, and I mean, the big part is here. I mean, blue is much more complimentary for you, Jesse, than brown.
Than the brown. Yeah.
You know.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good.
We got to give some love over here. Our public school boy. We got Taylor here, so you got to combat a little bit, right? We got the private school grad. Yeah. And we got, so Taylor, why don't you tell listeners a little bit, those that may not know you, about your story and go from there.
Yeah, born and raised Dickinson, North Dakota. I've been a Dickinson PD for May 5th will be 8 years. Before I came to the Dickinson PD, I had a bit of a storied journey. So I often have to talk to kids about myself, and I like to get to know them. So they want to get to know me too. So I end up telling this story quite a bit. As they say, well, what did you do before you were a cop? I'm like, well, I worked at the county jail for 3 years. They're like, okay, well, what about before that? I'm like, well, actually, I was a DJ. I did dances for various schools, weddings, things like that. For a company called K-Hook, yes. Yeah. So I traveled all around Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, doing whether it be school dances, weddings, some company Christmas parties, things like that. So I got to meet a lot of people, and I got to do a lot of public speaking, which I think has really helped in my position now. But it was really a unique opportunity as a young adult to do something like that. So I did that, but my very first job before any and all that was at Kentucky Fried Chicken here in town. So I got to know the ins and outs. So I think it's a very humbling experience for people to work in fast food. I don't give enough credit. I don't think collectively society gives enough credit to the people in the service industry that are putting in the long hours, doing things like that. So I got to know every part of the restaurant. I was there for probably a year or so, but very interesting stuff.
What about the family history on you, being locals? Are they transplants in here, mom and dad?
Yeah, so my dad passed away when I was at a young age, and then I lived with my mom and my stepfather growing up, same house, pretty much from birth. I think I was actually a housewarming gift 9 months after they bought the house, so that was pretty interesting. We can do the math there. Grew up, I have one brother, one sister here. My brother actually just lives in Bismarck, Mandan area. My sister's local here. My brother's in the medical field, and my sister's in the mental health field, and then my mother's a nurse.
Okay. What's the spark up? Why was it law enforcement for you? Why did you pick law enforcement?
So it's actually kind of a unique journey how I got to this. And so what actually happened was when I graduated high school from Dickinson High, when I walked across the stage, you could have bet $1 million that I would never one day put on a uniform and wear a badge. So
why is that, Taylor?
Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations is exactly right. No, so I was initially going to school for social work. So I started off at Bismarck State College. I did about a semester and a half there for statute of limitation reasons. I liked kind of the lifestyle of being in college more than I liked the academics. So I ended up dropping out of college for the first time. So when I dropped out of college, my mother was actually the nurse here at the local jail, and I was working in a group home with people with behavioral disabilities. And so how that kind of panned out is I was living in Bismarck. My mom calls me one day after I dropped out, and she says, well, why don't you come work here? It's full-time hours, working in the jail. I'm like, all right, screw it. That sounds cool enough. I've seen jails and prisons on TV. I'll go be a corrections officer. What's the harm in that? I actually took a 25-cent pay cut. At the time, I was making $14.75 an hour at the group home, and I was going to make $14.50 an hour at the jail, but it was full-time hours, so you do the math. So I end up working at the jail, and unbeknownst to me, I knew it was happening, but I never really processed it. That was the beginning of the oil boom. This was 2012. So it was a very busy place. Mm-hmm. So not only did we have at the jail, not only did we have all the adults coming in to custody, the jail operated the Dakota Horizons Youth Center, and so that had the federally sentenced maximum security juveniles. And so with that, we had to work with the United States Marshals quite a bit. So where I initially got my interest in the criminal justice field, it wasn't because I thought, oh, that's going to be the coolest thing, that's what I want to do with my life, and unlike Mr. Kubik, who thought, oh, that's great, I'm going to do this. It was a really unique. I dropped out of college, so here I am now. But so the real moment is when I knew was, so remember we worked with the United States Marshals, and so we had to pick up these prisoners, so these federally sentenced to maximum security. So when I say maximum security, they've been pretty heinous crimes. So we had
not shoplifting here. Right?
Yeah, so these juveniles, like at the same time in custody, we had one that was out of Puerto Rico for carjacking, armed, taking somebody's car. We had another one, series of gang-related armed robberies on the Baltimore area. We had I think one of them had a lot of convictions for drug-facilitated sexual assault. So not like you're staying out past curfew sort of thing. So there's some pretty, I don't want to say anybody's a bad kid, but they made a lot of bad choices. So we were picking up the one that was involved in gang-related armed robberies from Bismarck. So the United States Marshals did it through, I think it's called JPATS or something like that, acronym for their prisoner transportation.
Con Air. Yeah.
Basically. Fantastic movie, Nick Cage. So end up going with another corrections officer to pick this person up from the United States Marshals Service. So we take our Crown Vic, and they actually usher us onto the runway in our Crown Vic, and we park next to the plane with our transport vehicle, and we go onto the plane, and we do our thing with the marshals, pick up the person. And I thought to myself at the time, one, I wish I had a pair of aviator sunglasses. That would have made the moment perfect. And two, seems like a really cool job that these guys have. So I asked the deputy marshal that was doing the transport. I said, "Sir, how do you get a job like this? How do you do this?" And him with his aviator sunglasses already affixed says, "Well, first off, you got to go to college, kid." So I'm like, "Well, heck." So me as a fresh college dropout, I'm like, "Well, I shouldn't have done that." So I end up pretty rapidly enrolling in Rasmussen College. It's online classes. So I got my associates in criminal justice, and then following that, I end up doing 3 years working at the jail, and we could almost have a whole episode about my experience there. Holy cow! It's trial by fire. I mean, very, very busy place during 2012 to 2015, and so I was employed there. So I remember right now they're holding about 60 inmates in the 125 bed facility. During the boom, I would say we were pretty close to 110, 115, and almost all the time being at or above capacity. It was just insane. A busy night for them, I think now, is getting about 6 arrestees booked into custody. One of the busiest nights I had, we had 22 people get arrested and booked in. And that was busy. That was blistering because so not only is it just not like when you're going to the clinic, you ask a couple of questions and then it's done. People just got arrested, so you're dealing with their emotions, you're dealing with their issues, they're asking you questions, and not only do you have the people that just got there, you're also dealing with the people that have been there. And so I could go on for that, but it was some of the best experience coming in.
And you rose through the ranks pretty quick there.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I worked as a corrections officer for 2 years, and then I got promoted to sergeant at the jail, and then I did that for a year. So the equivalent of the sergeant would be like our corporal here. So it's kind of the rank structure for the corrections side is you have the corrections officers and a corrections sergeant and a corrections captain, and those are the people that are pretty much standing the watch. And so those are the ones that are doing the rounds, checking the inmates, booking people in, and then doing, of course, I don't want to say creature comforts, but doing the quality of life stuff like facilitating library, pretty much anything you can assume that a prisoner does, inmate, resident, whichever you want to call it. And so as a sergeant, I was helping the captain supervise the crew and maintain the custody, control, and care of the residents there.
Gotcha. You guys both have this different progression and level, depth into where you are right now, right? In your careers and different things, and, both having these local ties. How do you guys manage? How are you guys managing this, the balance between the work and personal life stuff and having the badge on and the gun and, going home and, for your mental health purposes and some of our folks that are listening in the community and young officers listening? Yeah.
So I always, tell people, don't make this your entire personality. Don't sheepdog, blue line everything that you own. You want to have, not only do you want to have friends outside of law enforcement, but you want to be able to turn your brain off. Like if we think of an accountant or something, if they're going to go home and do math puzzles and play with numbers all day, they're probably going to get burnt out pretty rapidly. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think the big thing with our job, it's not like any other jobs. it's not we just go to work, come home. Like being a cop is not just a job title. It's who we are. And I think that's where a lot of people can struggle with learning how to turn that off. And so when you go home, you might be able to disconnect, the craziness at work and focus on family and chores and whatever you have to do. But at the same time, you're still you're just, with all your training and what you've seen, you're always kind of on alert.
It's always kind of interesting meeting new people because when they find out what you do, they always want to tell you, like they immediately forget everything else that they learned about you. It's always like, oh, you're a cop. They'll either act weird or they'll want to tell you about a time they got pulled over one time but got a warning. It's always kind of interesting to hear. It ends up becoming that, any sociology buffs, your master status there, thinking about what your identity is.
Yeah. And I think going off what you said there, I think it's huge having friends outside of law enforcement. That is absolutely a must. If you're going to get into this career, have friends outside of law enforcement. That way you can be somewhat normal. Not saying that we aren't, but we do something that a lot of people don't. And I think also you have to have a purpose. You have to figure out what your why is, and why you're doing this. But also, it's like you brought up an accountant, right? Nothing against accountants, but it's not like your wife or your family becomes part of your accountant life, right? Us in law enforcement, your wife and your kids, your family, they're now a part of that career because of our scheduling and what we go through. But yeah, you talked about the mental health. How do we deal with that? And it's all about, I think, having a good foundation at home, being able to communicate with your spouse, being able to communicate with your loved ones and your friends outside of law enforcement. And, whether you have other good hobbies, whether it's working out, hiking, traveling to, faith, it's everyone has their own different type of things, but you got to figure those out if you're going to get into this. Otherwise it can be a long, hard career.
And not to mention to reach out and ask for help when it is. Obviously we had a officer up in Minot here this year that unfortunately took his own life just for whatever reasons, but it seems to be such a stigma that I think is getting, I think we're finally breaking through the mold on that because a lot of military and law enforcement, our type of professions just have that complex that I'm tough, I can handle it, but as it goes along, the more you bottle it up, the worse it is on you, and the importance of peer support and we have our auxiliary program now, so we get the families together and try to make that cohesion. But the big thing is just to reach out and make sure that you're good, you're checked out mentally, you're good to go there.
Yeah, Mike and I had this talk just the other day about it, and I think it's good to hear you guys echo that a little bit and lets us know maybe we're doing some of the right things as far as culturally, like when the newbies are coming on board and those that are just have their long careers out in front of them with us, is getting that, what you just said, Jesse, right out of the gates, right, and understanding it right out of the gates. Because the thing is, you come into it with all this excitement and this piss and vinegar, and you want to get after it, and then then you surround yourself with the shifts, and you surround yourself, and you're like, this is great, and then what happens is the insulation, and then you forget about these outside things, and then now we're at year 5, now we're at year 10, and you've built so much around you where having that detachment out when you leave this job. We were talking the other night, Taylor, you were out having some supper. We had a phone call. I just called you like, what you were doing, just out here just with a random kind of guy and detaching, getting away. Just how important that is for a new officer right away. Like the balance, it's a balance. We know that because you want to be vested in with your compadres and such. But you got to be able to detach and turn it off. Yeah,
I'll tell new guys. In law enforcement, we deal a lot with negativity, right? People don't call us because they're having a good day, right? Be great, right? But it's so you're surrounded by negativity or crazy things all the time, a lot of civil things or high violent things, whatever, you name it. And when you're surrounded by that, dealing that from a day-to-day basis, and you bring that home, that can affect how you operate at home as well. If you're negative with your spouse, with your family. So what I tell the new guys is, we might go to negative things, right? But try to find and pull the good from those calls. If it's a domestic, what is the good that you did with that? Is it an officer safety thing, which improved you? Did you save somebody from a possible horrible situation? If you're making a traffic stop, what is the good you did from that? Well, they could have caused an accident by doing this. And, educating the public not just simply, here's your ticket, have a good day. It's, this is why I stopped you. Here's the importance of it, why we don't do this, why we shouldn't do this. But finding those little things, the positives in your day-to-day actions in this job can amazingly, transfer over to your personal life by finding those little things. And, it keeps you motivated to work here. It keeps you motivated to progress in your career. And I would say, with this job, every day you learn something new.
Oh,
right?
without a doubt.
I'm comfortable saying probably for you gentlemen that for how long you've been in this, there's probably still stuff you learn new every day.
Every day.
And so it's continuous learning all the time, which is what I love. And you're not complacent.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the mindset that we want to, foster as a culture, is that growth mindset, where there's no finish line in this thing. And the quicker people can understand that, I think the happier they can be on a day to day, because sometimes they think, well, I've been doing this, doing that, and when am I going to arrive? When am I going to arrive? And none of us really ever arrive, and it's, I think you can get a little of that infinite mindset, some Simon Sinek there, keeping it and understanding what your why is. Keeps you much happier, because we've all been at fault at times where you've lost track of that and you all want to arrive and you find yourself into a little bit of a rut and a hole. But so you guys are talking on a few things there that make me just kind of ask you guys, what have been some of the toughest moments in your career so far? Then you reflect back on, through different, ebbs and flows and highs as emotions go, and you think about what have been some of the toughest moments that the job has presented you that have been, difficult to process, and or you just look at and you're like, man, that was heavy stuff.
Yeah, I guess for me, I think the hardest parts of this job, even today, but even starting in my career, is, dealing with the situation with kids. Kids in rough situation, rough households, and I think a lot of people know, there's the system's not perfect, right? There's flaws in the criminal justice system, juvenile courts and all that stuff, and every time I deal with a young kid that is struggling and we just don't have the avenue or the resources to really help the kid. You want to, but there's nothing really that you can do at that moment. And so I think every time I deal with that, it's a little bit of a heartbreak, because it's you feel like, okay, now I'm going to leave, and then what, but it makes you also think, like, now maybe there's something that I can do, right? There's people I can talk to try to come up with new policy or new programs. But yeah, I would say from the start of my career to even now, those are challenging. We deal with, it's a reality with this job. We're going to deal with people that, deceased subjects, right? People that car accidents, you name it. And those can be tough, especially if you're new and the first time seeing a deceased person, it can be rough. But it's part of what we do and how we handle it, remaining professional and doing what we were trained to do. But yeah, there's just some of those calls that really makes you think, like, how can I help this person if right now I can't?
Yeah, some of the stuff, there's not even, like, we deal with so many emotional situations with people that there's not often a string of words you can put together in any particular order that can make a situation better. So I remember I went to a case where somebody had committed suicide in front of their father with a firearm. And so me as a rookie officer, that was probably my first year of employment. I'm all of 22 years old. And I was tasked with talking to the father while detectives process the crime scene, or the death scene, crime scene, interchangeably used in law enforcement. And I don't think I could have come up with a phrase that would have said, okay, now you're happy and smiling. We just have to deal with this, and we're going to deal with it together. So part of the remaining professional, like you said, is important. But I mean, situations like that is one, it's nice to be there for that person. So we think about pulling the positive is in our unique role, we get to be with people at, any stage of emotion for them. And so it's good to be that kind of rock, so to speak, for them and staying strong for them.
I think a lot of officers that do mentally, as far as later into their career, are able to sustain it, understand that the uniform is a sponge and it has to absorb a lot of different things. And then at the end of the day, you got to wring it out, dry it out, go back to work. But that's what it is largely meant, for, with our community and having understanding that, I think, makes it a lot easier to navigate. And some officers that don't have long careers, they don't understand it, and it's more like a layer of glass, and it chips and it breaks and such. But those that can have that, which probably bodes over into the compassion and empathy and things that are just so imperative, and you guys have highlighted that.
Yeah, I think
today.
Yeah, hopefully you would agree, but I think the big things, because you asked earlier, what is something that you can, when you get a new guy, to figure out if they're going to make it or not, and the big things I tell them is you got to have patience on these calls. You got to be able to analyze and then make a decision. So if you don't have patience communicating with people that are having a really bad day, and you're just responding out of emotion, it's going to be a short career. And I give a huge credit to, for that, for me, working in healthcare, with people with dementia and Alzheimer's and all that. And I think that plays a huge part in how I do things today. And take time to listen, analyze, then act, because at the end of the day, we make the decision. It's our scene, our call, and we do what's in the best interest of people. But sometimes the law is the law, right? We got to do what we got to do. People are going to be happy with it, but the law is there for a reason.
And sometimes we're the catalyst for their bad day occurring. Granted, it is the consequence of their own choices. Usually, if they make the decision to commit a felony, we don't have a whole lot of discretion. We got to arrest you, buddy. Sorry. That's just what it is.
And there's unfortunately a lot of people, especially in today's society, that don't exactly like law enforcement, right? And and it's important, if you're in this career, take that as a challenge. If you respond to somebody that doesn't like law enforcement in the first place, and you've never met them, they've never met you, how can you make a difference there? And sometimes I just call them out on it. Hey, I understand you're upset. I can see you're upset. You don't like me. This is my first time working with you, and I want to make this a good relationship. And that can be huge, because you're there to listen. I'm there to help you. And, it's sad to see just how things are today, but that doesn't mean that we can't change that. And I think our agency, especially here in this community, does a great job with that. We have the people still here that don't care for us, but we still act professionally, and we try to help them every call for service that we take.
Now, I would say that those ones that are the ones that don't care for us are so few and far between, the kind of silent majority that has our backs 110% of the time.
Yep.
The community members that are always there to show up and support, so I think when we talk about, it's easy to get focused on, these are the people that don't like law enforcement. There's so many that do, and we're so grateful for that.
Yeah, and it's great that you say that, because that's so true.
I don't think I could fathom working in a community where there wasn't a strong foundation of law enforcement support.
Yeah.
When you look nationwide too, and maybe just unpacking a little bit more in terms of the quality of officer, the generation that's growing up right now is the computer generated generation, and it's the interpersonal skills are probably not as refined as it was maybe in generations past, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. What have you seen, especially Taylor? You're in the schools now. You see,
I was going to say, can confirm.
So, what does that look like here in the next couple of years with this next generation of officers? And what do we tell the kids out there nowadays that the importance of law enforcement, and how do we turn the tide on that?
I'll tell you, I think we're making strides locally here. Not to toot our own horn, however, we, along with the Dickinson Public Schools, started a whole class on law enforcement. So kids that are interested get to learn from law enforcement officers about what law enforcement does. And so with each, community member that takes that class, I think that they become brand ambassadors, so to speak. So they're able to say, hey, these aren't just a bunch of jerks. They're actually hardworking men and women here that are doing good things for the community.
Yeah, I think there's you think about these youth looking for jobs and opportunities. You guys both talk about your experience in the service industry, medical industry and stuff, getting kids exposed to that at a young age, forcing them to get out there, working the customer service, working in that selfless manner for the purpose of helping others, getting that thing going, which, now is, it seems like it's maybe a little bit different than when we were in high school.
It builds character, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, Jesse had talked about some fulfilling things there. Taylor, do you got anything in your career for some of the most fulfilling moments for you so far, in your total time with us? Some of those specific instances or moments where you're like, you went home and you're like, man, yeah, this is what it is, man. This is what it's about. So
this one is a fairly recent case. We edit it out later if it's too soon to talk about. We had a case in which grandfather was taking sexual photos of his 5-year-old granddaughter. And so that ended up being, I got to work at 8 o'clock in the morning that day when I was assigned to the criminal investigation division. And so throughout kind of how the day evolved, I think I was actually just about to walk out of the door at 4 o'clock to go home. And then I got this case on my desk. So I ended up being kind of how this evolved throughout the rest of the day, I don't think I got home until 10, 11 o'clock at night. So that ended up being pretty long shift, especially for a criminal investigator who's much like patrol officers. Our mind is constantly worrying, thinking, processing information along with making decisions. So it ended up being the conclusion to this is we were able to effect an arrest on this male who was doing this. And so I went home that day, and I explicitly remember, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I want to go to bed. However, we did a great thing today, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm sure there's a few, if you thought more, had more time not on the spot there.
Off the cuff.
There you go.
Do you guys have any piece of advice, one thing that you wish that you started this day one that a veteran would have told you, you for yourself, thinking about newbies that are listening to this, any of our new officers that'll be tuning in? One piece of advice each of you independently could talk about that you wish that you had?
We'll start it out. I would say don't be afraid to be yourself on calls. Sometimes when people wear uniforms, they think that they've got to act like the cops that they see on TV, and they've got to be robotic and very. Of course, we want to remain professional. However, just not being afraid to let your personality show despite wearing a uniform. So just being yourself as you interact with people, I think you're going to get a lot further with people if you're just your own person versus if you're pretending to be a robotic version of yourself.
Sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, for me, what I wish how would have been changed when I first started is, I'm always, I credit myself, I think I'm pretty patient all the time. And I think when I first started, I was thinking things had to go at a faster pace, But if someone starts in this career, I think you need to be patient, absolutely patient, and in your off time, training especially, that study, learn, and it's understanding what North Dakota laws are or what your policy is. That way, every time you get to the streets, you get that boost of confidence. That's the big thing. Is every day you learn something new, study something. That way, the next day, you have a better grasp and you're more confident in yourself, because you're starting off, you're going to have a lot of days where you do stuff wrong. And I think that brings a lot of guys down. They're like, oh, I did this wrong now I'm just going to keep messing up. Fail forward. That's the big thing, is fail forward. If you mess up, don't go back. Fail, go forward. Do the next thing right.
Yeah, I was. I had an old guy one time tell me when I got on, he's like, we're getting paid by the hour, slow down. Getting paid by the hour, slow down. And then, because, we too often are not giving people the time they deserve because of circumstances, sometimes outside our control. But if you can remember, in cases and interactions, because we think we got to get going, we're not giving people the time that they probably deserve, And so, yeah, that's well said on both your guys' end. I think. You guys got anything to add, I guess, on your end before
we talk about time and how we have all this kind of time. There was an officer I think you were on our crew with when you were a sergeant. As Officer Wise gave me this advice, it was, unless they're burning, bleeding, or blasting away at you, then you got all the time in the world to deal with the issue in front of you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Anything else here? Parting ways, you guys. We're going to get into a little quick draw game here. For the viewers out there, I'm sure you guys are going to have some family and some friends that are going to be paying attention to this. So that gets us into a little competition. Dickinson High and Trinity. This is you guys have seen some of the prior podcasts, right? And so you've seen we at the very end where we'd go off the cuff with some of the speed cuffing stuff, right? And today's a little different. Lieutenant Handel's creativity really came through on this one. We're going to run
hold it out of thin air here.
Yeah, we're going to
grasping at straws.
We're going to run a quick draw game, and so you guys got your radios. I'm not sure if they're up and they're running and they're ready, but this is going to be the rules set forth by Lieutenant Handel, and it says I'm going to ask some random law enforcement trivia questions. If you know the answer, key up on your portable radio. The person who gets the gurgle tone controls the board. If you get it right, you get a point, and if you don't, the other officer can answer for the point. Okay? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So get those radios going. All right, we'll see if
My
Mikey
pro
gets
gamer
in.
skills will be getting you.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've gamed, so.
You can hear that in the background. So, all right. So, first one. On our beloved police department patch, who is riding the bucking bronco?
Did mine go?
That would have been, Jesse.
Is it Teddy Roosevelt?
Correct.
Nice.
All right. Okay. The Dickinson Police Department was founded in what year?
Did you go?
No.
Let's see. I would say 1932.
No.
Nope.
Taylor, you want to take a guess?
It had to have been in the 1800s, late 1800s.
Okay, 1900.
We're coming up in the
1 point
125 here pretty soon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which famous NBA player also serves as a reserve police officer?
Taylor.
There we go.
Yeah.
P. All right.
Shaquille O'Neal.
According to American law, what level of suspicion do police need to make an arrest?
Taylor.
Probable cause.
All right. What is the oldest federal law enforcement agency in the United States?
Taylor.
Either the U.S. Marshals or the Postal Inspectors.
No. Only
You gotta
can be
pick
one.
Postal Inspectors.
Oh,
No.
I would say Marshall.
for the steal.
There you are.
For the easy steal. There it goes.
Thank you. I'll give you half a point for that.
What is the oldest federal law? Oh, excuse me. No. Police badges were derived from what historical figure?
Ooh.
Police badges were derived from what historical figure?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I just think of the old copper thing. I don't know what historical figure that would be.
Going once.
Two.
All right. Medieval knights.
Oh, what
Medieval
the-
knights.
There's the
I guess that
shield
makes
and
sense,
the
yeah.
sword.
Oh, yeah.
What model of taser was first deployed in the United States?
Oh,
by
man.
law enforcement. What model of taser?
I should have studied for this one.
Yeah,
No. You would have had one issued once upon a
He's got to
time.
make a wild guess. Let's just go a good old electric fence.
X26?
Yeah.
Close.
Close. But
Yeah, I have no idea.
M26.
M26.
Okay, fill in the blank here. When you're in Texas, look behind you, because that's where the blank going to be.
Talking about generational differences here.
Yep. When you're in
What?
Texas, look behind you, because that's where the blank you're going to be.
I feel like that's from
Police?
Walker,
Yeah, I
Texas
don't know.
Rangers.
Yeah, Taylor got it.
Okay.
Chuck Norris action.
The three types of siren tones on our squads are. Three type of siren tones on our squad.
I would say it's Jesse.
Tone, wail, and yelp. Is that what you mean?
Actually, I will give that to you because it is labeled tone.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's the pure
Unless you wanted the sound effect.
Don't
You have
turn
to
mine
actually,
on.
make the
Don't
sound
turn mine
effect.
on in the school too much.
Okay, we got a couple more left. What U.S. Supreme Court case gave further guidance on search incident to arrest? Search incident to arrest.
Is that Arizona v. Gant?
There you
Correct,
go.
sir.
All right, last one. Jesse
Master's
needs it for
degree
the tie. Let's just go with it. Name the cop movie based off the following keywords: Manhunt, Brothers, April 15th, Boston, Mark Wahlberg, Marathon.
Taylor.
Patriots Day.
There you are.
There you go.
Pretty sure I clicked that first.
I answered first.
Set your radio up, man. All right, that's good stuff, guys.
Right
You
on.
know, we appreciate having you in here. And Mike, do we have anything for parting?
Yeah, no, it's just thank you so much, guys, for coming in. Going back, Taylor, having you on the shift many a times back in the day, and just watching you. You were one of my guys growing up. Yeah, and,
Proud dad for you.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm a proud dad there. Really proud of where you've come and what you've done for our department, and especially with the schools so far and where that's going. And Jesse, obviously, you're just a solid dude. We're really lucky to have you here. Your expertise and your leadership style. I mean, we're really benefited from having you guys here. So
Glad to be here.
yeah, cool. Woo.
Yeah. Well, as it goes, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back at episode 17 here in a month for you, and keep trying to give you the things that you want. And please reach out if you got some ideas for us on somebody who's interested in maybe being on the show that has some connections to the show in the department. We're all about that too. We're very open in that manner. But subscribe on our podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, like the YouTube channel, Facebook page, share, click, get it up. So thanks a bunch, everybody.
Take care.